J-Love, baby.
Is it on? Is it on, honey? Is this thing recorded? What's up, YouTube land, Twitter land, Instagram land, Snapchat, Vander, Scruff, BGC, chat, Facebook, Periscope, and last but not least, every single one of my bitches. Christian Mingle, and the lands all across the land. This is your girl, T.S. Madison, and I'm coming to you loud.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Next Caller.
Woo.
This week, I have on a very special guest, known him for as long as I've been alive, my father, James Vander Heyden. Great to have you here today.
In the house. Great to be here. It's kind of exciting because this is like a fancy Joe Rogan podcast. We got cocktails.
Yes. Oh, let's tell the viewers.
Oh, man.
Craft old-fashioned cocktails.
Yeah, Maddie hitting one out of the park here with some craft old-fashioned cocktails. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. And I think this is your first show with a little bit of jazz, little jazz music in the background.
Yes, testing out some audio in the background. Jazz for this episode seems fitting with the old-fashioned and the vibe here. But we'll see. As I'm editing it, if I like it, maybe this will be a thing. I actually, side note about the jazz music though, I have been listening to a lot of jazz recently when I study because I realize it puts me into like hyper-focused mode. I don't even realize that one song turns into the next, so I don't know how much time's elapsed. So I just keep studying.
That cracks me up because there's so many things about you that I look at you and it's like, wow, that's like a junior me female version. And jazz, I got into jazz in college for just that reason. It was the right study vibe.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, how weird. Well, I don't know. I find I get lost sometimes in the hype up music. Sometimes I like it. Most of the time I don't. But
yeah.
So getting into, we don't need to cover the first question, how we met, because I think that's fairly obvious. But I thought I would get into my childhood first. So just give us a general overlook. What was I like as a child? So
here's the key. There's been 4 versions of Maddie. So I've dealt with 4 different Maddies. No, it's when you listen to this, you're gonna be like, okay, I get it. So version 1, when you were a baby, mom called you the tumor. Whether it was your ear infections or what, but you wanted nothing to do with me, and I mean nothing to do with me. I couldn't, you didn't even like to be held by me.
Jeez.
You were really weird. As a matter of fact, there was one night Mom went to Racine to go to like a makeup party, and you lost your shit. And I literally had to call Mom home. I was like, this is bad. This is really bad. So it's funny. So your baby time, you had this really strong affinity for Mom. And so I kind of would see you from across the room. So that's version 1.
What a brat.
Version 2 to me is your almost your elementary school years. And there's a lot of funny things that stand out. And Mom helped me remember some of these. But one of the biggest things, and when I think about you, like just overall, there's 3 tags I put on you. Independent, creative, and you always seem to fall forward. And in those young elementary school years, man, were you independent. You didn't listen to anything, and you did your own thing. And it was funny because you turned things into your own things. Like you loved books, not to read them. You used them as props, and so you would, I think we've talked about this over and over. You would set up a fake class that you would read to, and you loved books for what they were, but you almost never read them, and it cracked me up. It was like you had your own thing. And so, like, another one that makes me think about you and your independence is the Little Queen story. Do you remember this?
No.
So Mom was reading you something, and it was, some little book, and, there was a king and a queen and a prince and a princess, and you pointed at the queen, and you said, I'm the queen. And Mom said, well, actually, the queen's the older one. So in our family, Daddy would be the king and I would be the queen and you would be a princess, which is really, pretty awesome to be a princess, right?
Yeah.
And you were like, No, and you argued with Mom, and then you finally came to the point of you agreed to disagree that you would be the little queen. You came up with that.
Jeez.
That's you were so fiercely independent.
Maybe I should tell the Queen of England about that.
Right, exactly.
Get her take.
Do you remember you made up your own words?
Yes, I do know this. And this is something down the road I'm scared because whatever man decides to marry me, when he hears this, he's going to be like, it's mental illness, isn't it?
I've never known any kid independent enough that they said, you know what? Fuck the English language. It doesn't have enough shit for me at 6. I'm adding a word or two. Clivy is the one that stands out to me. I think there was others, but Clivy.
Well, I would physically shake my entire body and say Clivy, and that was peak happiness for me.
And I still use that when I'm in peak happy. You're right, because the English language does not. Probably Germans. Germans have all these extra words that we don't have. But there is not a word for peak happiness. So, yes, all of you Madi friends, if you want to co-opt Clivy, it's a pretty good word for it. But, yeah, so you're very independent. That was stage 2. Stage 3 was your kind of teen years. You had some missteps. You had some ups and downs there. I always laugh and remember your desire to be a video queen, whether it was all your makeup videos you would make in the bathroom. Hi, YouTubers, and you would go through how to do makeup.
Yeah.
Or you also wanted to be a rock star, and you would in our garage you made a few music.
God.
You made a few music videos. I think your friends need to see those videos.
No one needs to see the music videos in Mom's red convertible.
Right, and then version 4, I would say, kind of you young adult. These last few years of college. You had some chachis, some weak people in your life, and I feel like you dumped some people out of your life, and you found a great group. Maddie's friends that are up there right now, Tammy and I think you guys are awesome. But just somewhere between, you found a good group, you found some faith in yourself, and just some things clicked for you. It seems like lately. So version 4 is the current version. Your young adult, kind of confident in yourself version.
Madi 4.0 is a beautiful thing.
So yeah, so going back to the original essence of your question, what was it like raising you schizophrenic? Because there was multiples.
Ever changing.
Yes, definitely.
But I would like to say I kept you on your toes. I kept this family exciting.
Oh, you kept us on our toes for sure.
Do you have any specific childhood stories that stand out?
I popped a few out there already.
You gave us a good...
I'll throw this out. It cracked me up. So there was a time, so the thing with you that stands out to me was I tried really hard to be a proactive parent. And I think a lot of parents, and this isn't a rip on any parent, because I think 99% of the parents out there just kind of, you let your kid go and you get involved in parenting when they hit the guardrails, when something bad happens. And I was trying to be a proactive parent. And, I think you've said it, maybe it resulted in me being a disciplinarian, but it was hilarious because then I would be like, okay, we're going to try this method of parenting with Madi and see how that goes. And and again, you were so independent that when something didn't work, I would wad it up and try something. And I kind of look back and I laugh and I think about, there was a time period there where I tried to parent you as an athlete because you had expressed an interest in softball. And what was hilarious about that was you wanted nothing to do with the sport. You didn't even want to go take your at-bats. And it wasn't that you were like scared or anything like that. That just didn't interest you. You were there to hang out in the dugout, jaw with your friends, and the dances and the cheers and the chants. You guys had those chants, that you would do. That's what brought you to the park. And so I'm like, foiled again. Yet another parenting style I was attempting to bring out on the Madster. Foiled. So much for, teaching her discipline through athletics. That went out the woods. So it was a lot of thrust and parry with you. Nick was a little more linear in terms of, if certain inputs got certain outputs. With you, it was a chess game. And so I guess, does Does that give you enough?
Yes, I'm the world's greatest Rubik's Cube, essentially.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to get at.
So when I was a kid, what did you think I was going to be when I grew up? Like in college, what did you think I was going to major in, and like end goal?
You changed constantly, and that was hilarious because so mom talked about this, and she had wanted to bring it up on her show. But one of the things that was fascinating about you was you would go into this mode where you would study people. As a matter of fact, you got busted once, and somebody called you Sally Stary Stare, which cracked me up. But
yeah, she was a punk, though.
That situation was a punk. But moreover, you would sit and watch, and you would, the waitress or anybody, and you would collect their mannerisms, and we would watch you, and you would try to. And I was like, wow, this is kind of fascinating to watch as a dad. And so, it was interesting because then you would try those things on for size, and so if you had a friend who thought they were going to be a doctor for a while, you would say, well, I want to be a doctor. And so you threw a lot of, hey, what about this is out there? And it was funny because after a while, I just stopped. Like with Nick, I felt like I saw some things in his personality, and I said, I'm going to push him this way. And with you, I just had to stop because there was your fierce independence. I knew I had to let you cycle through these iterations that you were having, let you feel these things out. Because veterinarian, doctor, nurse. There's probably 6 more I could mention. But I knew you would have to try those pants on and say, how did they feel? And I knew I could give some input, but, I knew you weren't going to come up to me and say, hey, Dad, what should I be when I grow up type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that. I think for me, I wanted to figure it out for myself, and I also, I don't know, I guess I just always had the fear of, making the wrong choice, but I think a lot of kids are like that.
Yeah, it was so funny. I've never known a kid as independent-minded as you were, and I can't stress that enough. It was both awe-inspiring and it was mind-boggling as a dad because I would be like, just freaking listen to me,
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because I think there was some times you let some people into your life that maybe weren't good influences that might have been a point you bonded on was the independence, but in these other people it was like they were independent bad kids, and I think you were just independent, and maybe because I think sometimes there's people you bonded with that it's like in hindsight. But one of the things I want to bring up in your show, and it's funny when we get to dating, is I feel like there's been this common theme on your show that. And it's this totally age appropriate because when you're 20 something, but I think some of your guests and people your age, and again it's a very natural thing, don't realize life is the journey, and you gotta embrace the suck. And so sometimes you've had guests talk about bad days, and we can take this to there, but I am a huge fan of Zen, yin yang, the goods and the bads. You are defined by your both goods and bads, and so any bad moment you've had in your life is equally important as your good moment, and right. I think you learn from all that kind of stuff. So
no, I'd agree. I think so too, and that's something I'm really grateful, that piece of wisdom, because I think a lot of people my age can see something bad happen in their life, and it's that's it. That's a terrible thing that happened to me. That will always hold me back. Now I have all these barriers to life, and I felt like you and Mom have always been a turn a negative into a positive type of people. I don't know. I've seen it happen, and when you guys have bad things happen to you, but also you speak it, so it's known. And just own the negative. I've got little adages that I've tried to pound into you kids, and one of them is the measure of a man or woman isn't if you get knocked down. It's what you do after you get knocked down. Mm-hmm. So bad things are going to happen to everybody. It's how do you react to them, Right. No, I totally agree.
And again, the show is, this portion of the show is definitely about you. So back to, who you were as a young kid, you had this crazy independence and creativeness that it was funny. You weren't bothered by negative.